This is my third presentation today of different things. So anyway, sorry.
Thank you very much, Joan. So I will just make a brief introduction. We are at the second appointment of our AgriHackathon webinar expert series for the AgriHackathon Morocco 2026. We have with us Joan Kerr, that is program director of the Victory Garden Institute, and she's also part of the Climate Social Forum and also jury member of the AgriHackathon. So it's a pleasure and honor to have Joan here. And let's remember, these webinars are to build capacities for the AgriHackathon that will be in Morocco at the Techno Park in Agadir from 25 to 27 of September. There, guys, you will be asked to find innovative solutions towards several challenges of agricultural field, and that's why we are doing this webinar, not to make some feed for thoughts, also to give you some ideas on what's running into the agricultural innovation world. Saying that, I will say no more words. I will give the floor to Joan. Thank you very much for being with us, and Joan, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Domenico. Hello, everyone. Bonjour. ¿Cómo está? That's all I know in languages. So I'm so happy to be here and to participate in this AgriHackathon webinar. Some of you probably have heard me speak before. Every time I speak, I try to reveal something new because, as you can see by my gray hair, I'm 67 years old, but I've been involved in business. I started my first business in 1979 and have been involved in community participation since I was 15. So lots of experience that way. But like I said, my name is Joan Kerr, and I'm happy that you have joined us. So I've been involved with it, as Domenico said, with the AgriHackathon for 3 years now. I think this is my fourth year, I think. So quite happy to see how it's moved along and continuing. Just a little bit about myself. Like I said, I've been around for a long time. I've worked on something like 155 different projects in different fields. The only fields I've never worked in is logistics, with this trucking. And I have no idea if somebody's in trucking what they do. But in terms of other things, I have done, and I set out in my life to do that. Some things of note is that I got certified as a TOP, which is a Technology Participation Facilitator way back in 1991, just because I wanted to have that. I do have a diploma in horticulture. I founded the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities in 2003. And the Victory Garden Institute is a program of the foundation. So I have co-founded and was a director for the Women in Deed Center, which was focused on women in business and personal development, because they go hand in hand if you're a small entrepreneur. And I was a co-founder and project manager for the Energy Conservation Society of Ontario, which wrote the curriculum for energy retrofitting in construction, and that was in 1992, which the Ministry of Education still has and has not updated it. So we're pretty happy that it was pretty comprehensive in the first place. Taken a lot of UN and ITU, the International Telecommunications Organization, just to always be, I take courses every single day. I learn something every single day. I spend at least 1 hour for learning. So that's a snapshot of 50 years of work. A little bit about the foundation. It was started in 2003 And I was doing consulting work for a lot of not-for-profit. And the number one thing they always said was, oh, if we had more money, we could do this. If we just don't have enough money. And I wanted to start an organization that looked at not just not having money, but also how do we make programs long term and have a stretch over a long period of time so that you could get real and results. And so instead of in Canada, you have to do an annual report, and a lot of people get funding under annual budgets. But we set out to do a lot of engagement, and we did that through different community fairs and education programs. So it was incorporated in 2003. Our first project was actually a UN project, which we didn't know it was a UN. We just did it. It was a community project, but we ended up winning the World Summit Award in 2005. It had not been an award yet when we did our project, and they nominated us. So this one was called the Women's Open World Empowerment Movement, and we wanted to, we meaning 3 countries, wanted to look at how women were functioning in the IT world. And so it was amazing, the response we got. So then after that, we realized that there was an appetite for people to engage and participate in community and learning about the environment. So we launched the community fairs and did that over a 20-year period. So now we also did something called the Victory Garden, and it was a community garden. And I'll talk about that in one sec. And of course, we applied for UN status for sustainable development and received that in 2019. And now we're focusing on the education program, because when we did the fairs and the demonstration gardens, we ended up getting so many requests for not just having events and festivals, but that we should have a more formal education program. And so it came out of that whole outreach. And so we have a number of partnerships, the Rotary, the Silicon Valley Club. I am the VP for IEEE Smart Village for North America. And so, and of course, the Climate Social Forum. And because we are focusing on the Victory Garden, we also engaged the Royal Canadian Legion to be part of our programs. So that's a sort of a snapshot of what the foundation does. Just wanted to expand a little bit on the teaching gardens. We were donated, a family, but it was really a company, donated 10 acres to the foundation to do a demonstration garden, because we requested them and they gave it to us. But it was a piece of land. It was a piece of farmland without any electricity or water. And we're like, oh, I live in Canada. We need to have water. We need to have electricity to operate a garden. And so we thought, well, how can we do that? So what we did was actually engaged the local university to design a program for us. And we also had a greenhouse. So we had the solar, they had to look at, we presented the problem. So they had to design a solar panel program for us. And as you can see, the solar panels being installed. What was actually very good about this particular demonstration project, we call the brainstorming weekend. We started at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. in the morning. And like I said, it was electrical engineers from the university, mechanical engineers, and community developers. And we gave them a senior IEEE project manager, and he helped them to make sure that when they design the solution, that it was actually applicable. And so it started at 7 a.m. We presented the problem that there was no water, no electricity, and we needed to power the greenhouse. And so they had 2 days, 48 hours to work together, explore the problem, and come up with a solution, which they did. And so we ended up with a number of solutions from that. So that was back in 2013 that they did that. So I've been involved with IEEE as well as a garden with a lot of engineers and community designing things. So this is some of this is just to show you some of the things that we've done. We did the 12 years of collecting data and responding to what people were needing. What that means is that on the same property, we did a number of experiments using different soil enhancements and see which one grew, how much water needed, how the sun affected everything. Because, I was just a community person. I actually grew up on a sustainable farm in Jamaica, but we didn't have to have the solutions that we had to have in Canada. And the other thing is that in Canada, you have to design your gardens for, June, the 23rd of June, of May to the end of October. So it's not a year thing. So if you are designing things to last long, you have to think about the weather a lot. Like I said, we had the 38 fairs and events. And so we are now moving into the Institute, which is what the focus will be, is education. And in the UN Food and Administration Organization, they wrote a report for 2023 to 2025 and identified that there was a need to professionalize women in agriculture. So that's actually, we've taken that report and we're going to make that into a major program for our organization. So just a quick thing about why we chose the Victory Garden as a model. First of all, I saw a TV show back in, I think it was 1989. And because I had been brought up on a sustainable farm where we picked our own food, and the show was talking about people going into the garden and picking their own food, I was like, oh my gosh, you can do that. And so I wanted to replicate that. And in this model, they did community engagement, provided agricultural knowledge. Nutrition was very important because it was during the war and it was a necessity. And so we took that model and we created the Climate Smart Victory Garden, which looks at not just having the agricultural knowledge or engagement and nutrition, but also added smart agriculture, climate smart agriculture, smart technology, and we definitely promote food sovereignty because we believe in cultural food heritage, and to promote health and lifestyles. So that's how we did the move from the legacy to the innovation. And I love traditions anyway. So our motivation is that when we ran the garden, a lot of Canadians buy their groceries at the grocery store. And we did a number of festivals and events that really invited the community to come and learn about what good food. And when I say good food, not just taste, because I'm a foodie, so food tasting is good for me, but also the freshness of the different vegetables and teas and things like that. And they were actually amazed on the difference in taste. So we would, in some of our events, would have people go and pick their vegetables, would have a barbecue and they'd barbecue it, or we also ended up having a little kitchenette, and they actually cooked their food and tasted it. So that's what we want to promote in the Victory Garden, is that you can grow and save the environment, and also hopefully make a living if you want to do that. And so our vision is that we really want to create programs that people grow their own food and are able to be respectful to their own culture, because that's we don't believe in one size fits all or one melting pots or anything like that. That people need to have their own culture and their foods. But what we do want to do is to work with communities so that they are growing the different types of vegetables that can help them with the vitamins and minerals and things like that, so that they're healthy. So not to displace their own culture. And the Victory Garden, was very specifically for North America and England especially. So they had a criteria of what you grew, but we've changed that as well to include the cultural heritage. So that's a huge difference as far as I'm concerned as well. So again, like I said, what we learned with the at our own Victory Garden was that technology played a really big role, because we didn't live there. So it was really good to be able to engage the electrical students, and they actually did some of the remote monitoring and and the sensors and stuff, and that was really nice, because not only were the community growing food, but we had these students, we had technologists, we had horticulturalists all working together to ensure that we actually had a lot of food, and that the water and the air movement, especially in the greenhouse, because oh my gosh, it can get so hot on an open space in Canada in the summer, and all the humidity. So that really, really helped. So it was a real community effort. Again, we focused a lot on food sovereignty, so which is that to ensure that people have culturally appropriate food. And why we did that was where we live, which is close to Toronto. There's like 200 different ethnic groups, so we would grow different food and showcase them, that the immigrants could grow their own food. We also gave homage to the Europeans that came to Canada during the war, and just before the war and after the war, so that it was just a mixture as well, because they brought a lot to Canada, and so we wanted to make sure that everyone was included. These are our pillars that we want to focus on, but in the end, it's about local community. It's about people being able to teach in their own language, grow their own food, and have a way of communicating with the rest of the world. So I'll talk about that in a second, which is we want to offer community programs, so educational programs. We want to certify people so that their gardens are climate smart and adhere to the food and agriculture principles of climate smart agriculture. We're also, of course, we're an environmental group, so we focus a lot on the environment and community development. And we're working on a global digital marketplace. It may be launched before 2027. Hopefully it's this fall, but I put that down because we'll be done by 2027. And basically what we want to do is that, yes, people can take courses. Yes, they can grow food. Yes, they can have food. And we're going to teach them how to not just teach them, because a lot of times they already know, help them with the preserving, the storing, things like that. And most of what we've done is in North America, so lots of people know already how to do things, but to enhance it. But what's important is that if there are surplus that they can't use, that they're able to either trade or sell it or make it into another product. I mean, when I was growing up, that's what we did. And in our farm, we had a little store, and people would come and buy the surplus. So I come from that. It's in my blood, as I say. Although we focus a lot on the SDGs and our status, we're in special consultation. These are the specific ones we actually focus on as a component for the victory gardens, so that they're specific in what we're trying to, the messaging that we're trying to give to the public. And these are our courses that will be on the institute when it's launched. We're heavy into technology. All of our community fairs had a technology component to it. We have launched the Climate Smart Victory Garden program with Climate Social Forum as a small token. We've learned a lot about the self-paced course, so we'll relaunch it with that feedback in November. We have launched the virtual school of internet governance that was launched in September 2020, when during COVID the face-to-face ones didn't learn, so we were like, oh, we could develop a course around it, and so we did, and we've graduated over 3,500 graduates since then. And it's sponsored by industry leaders, mostly through the US, but the European Union as well, and the Canadian Internet Organization. So that's a solid course ongoing. One really great thing about the internet governance is that we have actually translated the content into many languages. For example, obviously English. Canada is a French country as well, dual language. So we have English, French, Spanish, and Bengali. There are two more which I cannot recall, but I didn't work on it. So, but 6 languages, and we bet out the UN and ICANN for that. Our little organization. We do want to push entrepreneurship. The most important is a victory garden business where they can sell their produce. However, we're very sensitive to that. There's a lot of women, especially, that will do is in the informal business community, where they make things from either their produce, food processing, etc. That can be sold as well. So we do have programs for that. But our overlying message is always about health and a healthy lifestyle, because it sort of covers everything. And the platform will actually have a portion where the Victory Hub, where people can share their knowledge and anything that they've learned in their community. So we think that's very important. So these are the pathways that we've chosen. A homeowner, this is our main focus, that people can grow food where they live. Whether it's a container or a small plot or whatever, just grow something. That's what we said, just grow something. But the thing is that a lot of times people they think somehow that vegetables are ugly. If you live in the suburbs, you want flowers and green grass. So in my own garden, people come in and they're like, oh my gosh, your garden's so beautiful. And then they look, you've got vegetables everywhere. I said, yeah, you can really design it so that it looks beautiful. And then you can go out and cut some tomatoes and lettuce and, edible flowers and herbs. And so that's what we want to promote. Just grow something, homeowners. We understand that we have to help people who want to have this program in their own community. So we're designing a facilitator training, which they can access the information and maybe translate it into their own language and teach it. And of course, our biggest thing is to have the Victory Garden as a business, so that they can earn money as well, both in their community as well, in their region, as well as on the global marketplace. And one of the things that we've are focusing on, I mentioned it before, was the UN report that there's a 24% productivity loss for women. And I was very interested in that. It's, if anybody's interested, it's a UN Food Administration report 2023 to 2025. And they talk about that. And I was like very interested. It's 188 pages, and I read it. I was looking at it. It's okay. So you've written a report. What now? And so we thought, oh, if there is a need to professionalize the women farmer, then we're going to focus on that. And according to the report, there are five. If you professionalize the women farmer, um, 363 million women would be lifted out of poverty. Now, on this, it says 45, but that's because that's what we want to focus on. And so the productivity loss is where a woman if you compare it, a woman has an acre and a man has an acre. These are not in North America because it wouldn't apply, but the man is given credit. They can buy equipment and they can farm the land that way. Women who have the same piece of land, they have to dig it manually and they have to save their seeds, and they don't have access to credit. So what we want to do is to look at how we can help the women overcome these barriers and become a professional farmer, so that with the same acreage, because of the difference in the approach, the manual versus the mechanism, the productivity is 24%. And what the report says is that if you gave women the same support, that would be decreased. So we want to focus on actually having a solution for that. So anybody that wants to help to relieve that, I'm happy to work with. And so, like I said, that's what we want to focus on, is to professionalize women in agriculture. And for those on the call, this is the year of the woman farmer. So this is a great way to start to developing that program. And this is our market projections. We want to really, really grow by working with different networks to grow gardens, eat fresh, delicious food, become certified, teaching. We always say teaching agriculture in a fun way, but living in a fun way as well. So, and having an economic development component to it. And so this is how we're going forward throughout this whole new adventure that we're having. And we're committed to the food sovereignty and respecting wisdom that already exists, and bringing in the technology to increase delicious fresh food. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much, Joan. Are you there?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joan, and wonderful to hear your story. I think it's been also a story, let me tell, of resilience that is one of the things that, of course, in farming and in climate smart farming is important to have. So, as usual, we do. Sorry for my voice. First of all, I had a cold, and it's not so nice to hear. But if you have questions or comments or curiosities, no, for
Yeah.
Joan, let's use this space really for interact with her. It's not every day that we can interact with people and women like Joan, so take the chance, no? So the floor is yours. If you have question or comment, don't be shy. We're a community, so nobody is judging and so on. So feel free to express yourself, okay?
So while we're waiting for questions, I just want to say normally when I do a presentation, I give all kinds of stories. So I just want to pat myself on the back that I tried not to give too many stories and take up the time. So tons of stories to tell.
But it's better, but I think through the storytelling is also easier to communicate.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love to tell. Like I'm a natural storyteller.
Mm. In the meanwhile, that we can receive some question. I also have a
Yep,
question for you.
yep. Go ahead.
Of course, now we are making these webinars for fostering innovation. No? So, how do you feel that maybe the challenges that you face bring to some innovation in the process, no? That led you to find new ways to uh, use your creativity and ideas to overcome the situation, because this is also how innovation sometimes is bringing up.
Well, I think that if you're open to working with different people, for example, technologists sometimes don't have the opportunity to express themselves in an artful way. And so if you bring people together and say, I have this challenge, and I always use the word challenge, and I need you to help me solve it. And so they want to help you solve it. Um, but I think what happens a lot of times when you have projects, people make it so serious. And so um, you need to have a situation where it's really fun. And I don't know, when we did our brainstorming weekend, we had a lot of males, and there's a women in engineering that were also there, and actually the woman in engineering was a project manager. But one of the things that I can tell you about males is that they love to compete against each other. So they that's what we did. We sort of set the challenge as a competition. Can you guys do this? Can you work together? I mean, part of the challenge was that they didn't just design something, that they were we ate as well. That was another thing, is we had a lot of food for them. It's food that they wanted. And I don't know. I think you have to set the tone that when you're doing a challenge, it's something bigger than the challenge. Like you're helping something that can feed people. So that was one thing. We gave a lot of food to community. So if we had the greenhouse, it increased what we could donate to food banks. So of course they were inspired by that. They were inspired by the fact that this was an open space and they could start from scratch, and it was their designs. So that was also a motivation factor, and the challenging factor that the mechanical engineers to the electrical engineers, that they ended up having some respect for each other, and that they ended up valuing each other, and not saying, oh, well, I'm an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer. So that worked. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how we approached it.
No, no, absolutely, and thank you also, because I think he brings some other point on the discussion, the teamwork. That
Yeah.
is for sure something that the participant of the AgriHackathon need to meet, okay, or to face with, and also the
Mhm.
diversity, not the how the diversity
Yeah.
is not we can say something bad, but it can be in the process something that can create richness,
Hmm.
multiplication of ideas, different point of views, and so on.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing designing something, it's another than you're taking others into consideration. And one of the other things that we did was we invited, after the year was done, we invited all of the participants to we have an annual harvest dinner for the Victory Garden that's hosted by the Royal Canadian Legion, and we invited them to come and talk about it. So they felt really good because they're like, "Oh, we grew this food, and it so that was also keeping them in the loop, so that they had something, one, to put on their resume, and that one of the things that they said was, when we're designers, we don't end up seeing what the impact of the end product was. So that was very important for us too. they really appreciated the fact that we did that. So.
Great, great. So any
One of the
questions?
things I
Oh,
want to say as well is just because you don't have any money, and I'm talking from a Canadian point of view, it doesn't mean that you can't do something. So we didn't have a lot of money, obviously. Actually, we had no money. Um, but going out and asking people to bring certain parts of the solution and putting it together. So we've always approached everything like that, that there are resources and not to be scared to ask. So we ended up getting some money from what they call Power and Energy Society in Ottawa, Canada. So they paid for the hard costs. So uh, which helped us. But we went to the garden center and we asked them, is there anything that you're throwing out? Is it, so for example, there were some broken terracotta pots that we were going to put in the garbage. And so we took them and used them for water, put them over the root of the plants so that if it rained, it actually was buried at the root and saved water. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, you can just instead of buying irrigation system, we did things like that." And so it made it really nice. So yeah.
oh, thank you, thank you. This is, I think, one of the skills of the entrepreneurship spirit and so on. So,
Yeah.
so just do not surrender on the first, you can say, difficulties, but find new ways out from difficulties. And I saw,
There's always a way out, always.
yeah, Abderrahman saying, nice, very important point. Thank you, Abderrahman. I don't know if you want to take the floor, say something. Um,
Thank you, Domenico and John. So actually, the point of money, it's very important aspect because many startups need money, but they think if they don't have this much of money, they will not do anything.
Yeah.
Some of them uh, imagine that I need this budget, which is an industrial size or a big budget for an early startup.
Mhm.
This is actually the case of one a startup that work in a similar solution to mine. They told me that they use an old materials. They try to use local used or like innovate and how to bypass the sometimes because the budget, especially if you are with a program or something, it will require a lot of time to take it out. But being innovative in this term, it will help you a lot to be flexible.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, just because you don't have money, I mean, just think of a way that you can get it at least started. I used to run a program called Venture Drive years ago because I'm an entrepreneur first before, anything else. And what that program did was do a flip because I'm also an artist. So instead of someone coming and presenting to the investor, we would have 4 or 5 investors with 1 million to 3 million. That's the 'cause small entrepreneurs, and they would go on stage and present what they were looking for and were willing to fund. And so that anyone that was in the audience could then say, "Oh, well, I can apply to this person," instead of wasting time presenting. And you don't, you should spend the time getting to know the person that's going to fund. And so it was very interesting that the most of the funders, these are investors, and they were angels, not vulture capitalists. Uh, um, I asked them one time. I said, "Well, exactly how do you make your decision? If you say, for example, there are 3 people that you're really interested in, what is the component that would make you make a decision to fund?" And they all said the person that's the entrepreneurial person that would do it regardless. They're doing it, and that's the person because they felt that they were passionate about it and that they were going to look for a way to solve it. And so it's very important to have that initiative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are other intervention or other also curiosities. As I say, take the chance to take also from the experience of Joan. No, I mean we have really a women that has a lot of experience in entrepreneurship, in farming, in gardening, and so on. So
Yes. So, Miss John, it's interesting that you work with the hydroponic technology
Hmm.
because we started with the idea of using the sandwich panels for thermal
Hmm.
isolation, but we
Hmm.
find another way to use abundant earth rooms in Morocco, which are very available a lot here, to
Hmm.
instead of sandwich panel as isolation, which will reduce a lot of power and the climate control costs, and
Hmm.
also will eliminate the need for inexpensive material like the climate control and etc.
Hmm. Hmm.
But for now, we are trying to do a small demo inside one of
Hmm.
those rooms, but with just the minimal requirements to produce the hydroponic barley as a livestock feed in very harsh areas in Morocco.
Hmm.
So I want to hear your perspective.
So what you're doing is responding to your local conditions, right? So are you asking me if I think it's a good idea or what to do? Because I'm not an engineer. I'm I call myself a community solver. I'll find an engineer to implement what I envision. So, but so I can answer your question on an engineering level, but what I would say is what are the conditions of what you're trying to do? And when I do any project, I do what I call it Benjamin Franklin. I put what is the challenge, what is the normal solution, and what if. How can I use this? Who can I contact? How can I get this done? So I never think of not doing something if I have a vision. I think about how can it get done and who can I contact to to do that. Um, because not being an engineer is not a something that will stop me from asking an engineer. And I've been involved with IEEE since 2009, and I bring that community aspect to them all the time, and which that's why they made me their humanitarian advisor, because I'm always saying, well, what about this? What's the cost? People can't afford this in a country. Why don't you work with a local person that has a solution and support them by giving some engineering advice or technical support, things like that. So I can comment on what you're doing. If I see it, I might come up with great ideas, but I think starting and trying to resolve something, does it make sense to you? What will be the impact? How will it work? How will it maintain itself? Things like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
I thank you. So actually, beside the technical aspect, we are trying to be very cost efficient. So allocate a minimal budget to start the minimum valuable product and see if that is working actually. Because as you said, get the attention of a VC or angel investor in very early stage or something. It's very hard.
Mhm.
So we are trying to uh, bootstrap maybe or use a minimum fund requirement to start the project.
Mhm. So are you looking to make it and sell it as a solution in Morocco or in Africa? Or like, what is it? What is a marketplace?
Okay, so the market price initially is in Morocco, of course, but
Mhm.
it's actually an Africa MENA problem because
Mhm.
the climate change, the water shortage, and etc., and the expensive cost of the
Mhm.
animal feed. So we are
Mhm.
giving this alternative, and we use technology to give a better alternative, uh, using less water and something adapted to the climate in those areas.
Mhm.
So basically, our business model is to sell the feed, not the technology. So sell the feed per kilogram for small and medium farmers.
Yeah, so you're processing the feed then.
Yes.
Now, there are cost-effective ways of doing that as well. One way is windrow. Have you heard of that? You
Wind?
put it out in the yeah, windrow, where you
No.
put it out in the field and it dries, and you stir it and it
I
makes
heard. Yes,
yeah.
I heard
So
about it. Yes.
we did that. So when we had our farm, our community garden, because I had my own farm as well, so I have to be careful when I use that terminology. So the community garden, it was given to us by the Taylor family, which is the richest family in Canada. They own all the race horses, like Northern Dancer and all of that. So we live in that area that they had the farm, and they gave us the keys to to get the manure. And so we did an experiment where we took the manure from the horses and from their farm and brought it to the community garden. And we did an experiment between using vermicasts, which are worm casts, the manure from the horses, and then normal composting that we did from kitchen waste and things like that. And we did three beds of 5 by 10, exactly the same, planted the exact same vegetation to see which one grew more, which one retained more water. Like this is the data collection. That's how we actually started the data collection, was because of that experiment. And it was very interesting. Oh, we did one with wood chips, but it wasn't part of the experiment. But that's what we always use, was wood chips. And the one with the horse manure, the vegetables were 30% larger than everything else. 30%. So I
It's
said to,
interesting.
yeah, I said to someone, I said, this is so amazing, because we didn't expect it to be 30% more. And they said, well, are you sure there were no medications in it? I was like, oh. Did they give medications to those horses? Like, what do you call them? Is a special name that he said. I was like, oh, I never thought of that. But I said, if I don't think so, but 30% was the not just, we use less water on top of that, and 30% larger vegetation. So it was a good experiment. And I always say that when you're doing something and you're starting a business, know what the competition is doing, and what it is that's different about what it is that you're offering. Right? Is basic business concepts.
Yes, find what is distinguishing your product from the others.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called benchmarking, I think. Benchmark
Well, we
of
call it
competitors
competitive
analysis.
edge. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Competitive edge. What is it? And make sure that that's what you're offering and build on that. But in order to know that, you have to know what it is that other people are doing.
Okay. Other comments or intervention? Even though, oh, tell me. I hear somebody was speaking.
Yes. So I will jump again. So you say something important, that you are not a specific scientific guy. Just you give the idea, and then you call a engineer or or a technician to do the work. So actually, this is also the case for us. So I'm
Yep.
a software engineer, not a farmer or something. But the
Yep.
idea come from the observing the challenges here in Morocco, observing the challenges of my family with livestock and etc.
Right.
What I see locally here, and following the news and etc. So basically, this is also a problem sometimes when you go to a program or someone. and you said, "Hey, I'm a software engineer," they look weird, look at you. Why are you jumping to agriculture? So this is also a challenge. Sometimes, yes, we are eliminated from program actually because of that, because uh, we don't have knowledge in the, like, example, the hydroponic technology, how it grows and etc. But we don't have this perspective of an engineer or a scientific in the field.
Mhm. Well, there are several programs in the IEEE that are humanitarian as well. So you may want to contact them to see if they can help you. There's an African IEEE group as well. There is something called the Humanitarian Technology Challenge Group as well. And they're happy to provide. I mean, every year they change their mandate. So, I worked with many of them, but every year they change them, and you may want to submit something to them as well.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if Fatima wanted to say something. I saw that she opened the mic.
You can hear.
Cannot hear you very good.
I can just type my question if you cannot hear me.
No, I
In
hear
chat.
you. Now we are hear you. Now
Yeah.
we can go ahead.
Okay. So thank you so much for being here and doing this webinar with us. And as someone currently building an AI and data-driven solution aimed at supporting agriculture and contributing to digital transformation in Morocco, I'm constantly learning about the challenges of building products for sectors that are often underserved by technology. Based on your experience, I'm talking to Joan as an entrepreneur. So, what are the biggest mistakes that early stage founders make when developing solution for underserved communities or traditional industries such as agriculture, and how we can avoid them?
Yeah, I find that the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs face is that they do not consult with the community that they're serving. That many times that I came to IEEE and I said, engineers come up with a solution and in search of a problem. And the community wants to be engaged and asked, and that you end up having support from them because they will provide valuable input into your growth. So you can design something and ask them. So I've always been very lucky that from the time I was 17, I started my first business, and I was never scared of asking questions because my philosophy in life was, and still is that I don't know anything. I know some things, but not everything. But other people know it, and I was never scared to ask questions. I even dislike the word expert, to be honest, because the thing is, I have a lot of experience, but there's so much more to learn that you can never be an expert per se. So as an entrepreneur, I'm talking about there are experts obviously in fields, but I think the number one thing is that when you're designing something, that you do not ask the receiving entity, the community, that there's not enough research to say, is your product viable? Does it exist already? So do a lot of research, understand what the marketplace has or needs, and how can you, I would say, identify the gap, which is a competitive edge. When you can address the gap, you can address the product. Does that make sense?
Thanks a lot. And I have also another question. So when I already ask a lot of farmers and do my research, so I found one problem is to convince them with adopting a new technology.
Right.
So for you,
So
what's the best way to convince users to trust and adopt this new technology-based solution?
demonstration.
Okay.
People need to see,
Okay.
people need to see it. Especially
Okay, thank you.
if it's new. So, you can go to those people that you've already interview and that you've researched and stuff like that. And you say, can you help me use it so that I can have some feedback? Or go to a university. Sometimes they're very helpful. You use a community organization to evaluate it and use it. A community garden, for example. I don't know if you have them. I've been to Morocco, by the way, twice. I love Morocco. I had a really great time. I went with ICANN, which is the Internet Governance Body. I was the chair for the not-for-profit group. So yeah, I find that entrepreneurs, first of all, think that they should know everything and they should be an expert in that field. But entrepreneurship is about learning and taking risks. So don't design something because you think somebody needs it. Design it because it is needed.
Thank you, Joan. I want to add one thing to what before was saying Abderrahman. So also bringing now a little bit of my experience. So don't be frustrated to learn something outside, we can say, your major, okay? Because of course, your studies and so on, they give you the most knowledge in one field and so on. But the important thing is to develop your critical mind. And so, also before John was saying, I make a course today. John is always learning new things. And also me. And so we are always, it's not that we are in the university and we are done, okay? We
Yeah.
have always to be learning. And that's important skill also, I think, of entrepreneurs that are always with the eyes open, antennas on, and to capture information and things and so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm what they call a true entrepreneur because I love risk and challenge. That's what drives me. So-
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Fatima, I wanted to say to you that everything I've done in my life and I've had experience, when I started, I knew nothing about it.
That's a point. Okay. Okay. So I don't know if there are other comments or questions. Even though, really, thank you very much, Joan, for your time, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We're gonna make some other of them, okay, just to prepare for September. Of course, the next one will be between within the end of July, August. Of course, let's let for rest and vacation. I don't know. I will ask Fatima eventually if you can speak now. If not, it's okay. If you want, even though we can
Hope I
close.
answered her question as well.
Yeah, in case we will meet Joanna again in our path because as she said, she's like important part of the AgriHackathon, and so thank you very much, Joan, also for your contribution on there. And so see you the next webinar, and we will share the recording into the chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for
Ah,
listening.
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you.